So I just wanted to solve a short exorcism exercise this evening. Yesterday I spent a good amount of time setting up the OCaml environment, and then after I closed the stream I ended up solving a few, like 3 OCaml exercises on exorcism. So got a bit of more of a feel of how it works. So hopefully we can breeze through just a short exercise, hopefully in the next like 15 minutes or so here. So this one's just a simple one that, oh actually, before I do anything else, let me remember to turn on, I think I had this thing that shows my key tweak. No, that's not it. Key viz, that's the one. Okay, get that turned on. There we go. You can see my little keys in the bottom corner there. Okay. Now, I also am having this issue where keys are getting sticky. So hopefully that doesn't happen too often, but I think I know how to fix it when it happens. So we'll plow on. Let's see if, okay, key viz is now not responding. Let's restart it real quick. Okay, things are not responding here. Let's shut it down and restart it. Key viz and task. Okay, start that up again. Key viz. Cool. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this exercise where we have a series of nucleotides, and we just need to count how many of each there are. If we ever see an invalid character, anything that's not G, A, T, or C, then we just return an error, depending on what the language returns for the error. So I think exorcism could really benefit from better instructions that, or things that kind of tell you how to do that in the language rather than these very generic things. Some of these exercises that I've seen are like one line description. So that might be something that I try and contribute to at some point. But we're gonna do, that didn't work. Yeah, so here's where I'm having that sticky key issue again. Okay. Let's go to terminal and see if that helps any better. Okay, we'll go cd exorcism. Nope. OCaml. cd OCaml. What was this one again? Nucleotide count. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to change some of the settings on the key viz. Hopefully it's not too distracting down there. So let's open up the actual nucleotide count, the test for it as well, and I don't think we really need to readme. Okay, so we're gonna have MT be the thing that we return if map.mt module char. I think that's what we're going to use if what is it? Let MT equal map MT. Not really sure what we're supposed to be doing with that. Empty DNA string has no invalid nucleotides. So we're supposed to essentially return an error or an OK, it looks like. Okay. I don't know why we have this thing called empty here. I don't know if we need it for anything. We'll press on here. Okay, so we have count nucleotide. Oh yeah, I remember this. So for whatever reason, some of these come built in with like kind of a hint on how you're supposed. They're suggesting that you do this. You can easily count the nucleotides in a single pass, all 4 of them, but they're actually suggesting, or they actually require, that you have a intermediate function that counts a specific nucleotide. So it takes your string and then your character and counts how many occurrences of that nucleotide there are. So let's implement that first. The first thing is how to get a string split up into a list of characters. So I don't know if we have any. Oh, look at that. Yesterday we didn't actually have this completion here, and it's also telling us the type on there as well. So let's say split on char. There we go. Split on char s. OCaml tends to not use the parentheses, so I'll stick with that for now. So yeah, this will give me. Oh no, okay, that's not right. It's a list of all possibly empty substrings of s that are delimited by the character. Okay, so it needs a character and then the string, and then returns a list of strings. It'd be nice if we had a list of characters. To sequence. Yeah, there we go. So this will give us a sequence of characters. That's nice. Okay, good. So we'll do that. Take the result of that, and let's see if there's something that does well, that'll give us a whole list. We want to now do like a list dot contains or something like that. List dot, is there a sum? There's a has, nope. List dot member, maybe. Takes an item, takes the list, and returns a boolean. That looks promising. Okay, so we'll say list mem c, and then we're using this pipe, so the sequence should be passed as the second thing there, and that should return the bool. Okay, so this is now typed as give me a string, then give me a character, and I'll return a bool. That looks like the right type definition. So let's get this to try. What's this yelling at us about? It's saying type annotate. Okay, not really sure why that squiggly line is there. So there's this thing here where I can select this and press Shift Enter, and it opens this thing over here. And okay, we say this function application is partial. Maybe some arguments are missing. Okay, what does that mean? What was that missing again? String dot to sequence. It needs a string. That's it. To string is a sequence made of the string's characters in increasing order. Whoa, interesting. In unsafe string mode, modifications to the string during iteration will be reflected in the sequence. Okay, well, let's be explicit with calling it, maybe. See if it's happier there. No, it's not. This function application is partial. Maybe some arguments are missing. Okay, let's do a search on how string.toSequence works. Okay, there's a chat thing. Let's go to this chat guy there. This is working pretty well yesterday, so I'm gonna give it a try again today. We say OCaml how does OCaml string to seq work? Okay. This one's being okay about, surprisingly. That's the part that, if anything, I would think maybe there's an issue with, but it does not appear to be the case. According to OCaml library documentation, string to seq is a function that converts a string into a sequence of characters. A sequence is an abstract data type that represents a lazy list. You can use string.toSeq to manipulate strings as sequences, for example, sorting them. Okay. Maybe I don't really want that. How can I convert okay, that's a problem. It's not typing anything. How can I convert a string to a list of characters in OCaml? Okay. While that's happening, there's a few things going on here. Okay, so if I remember how I did this last time, what I did was I grabbed, I called count nucleotide on each one of the 4 nucleotides. And then I think what I did is I checked to see if the sum of all of their counts was equal to the length of the entire string. And if so, that means it was valid. Otherwise, that meant that there was some invalid character and we had to return invalid. And then there's something special you have to do about it being a empty string as well. So let's actually use function here so that we can use pattern matching here and say if it's an empty string, then we're going to just return what we're supposed to return if it's an empty string. Empty DNA string has no invalid characters, so we just return error X. Oh, okay, that's to test the count of nucleotide. So if it's an empty string, we just want to return invalid DNA string has no nucleotides. Why is this returning an X there? Empty DNA string has 0 nucleotides. Okay, map.empty module char. So we're supposed to use empty, this empty up here, in the case where it's empty. So we'll say, okay, empty. Okay. Here's an example of a case that does not match star. Okay. One way to convert a list of characters in OCaml is use string to seq and list.of_seq functions. For example, you can write string to seq list of seq. Okay. This will create a list of characters from a string S. Alternatively, you can use a recursive function to use an index access character string. Okay. That's pretty good. So in between here, instead of just calling that directly, I just need to do, actually, what was it? It was list of sequence. That's very interesting. List of sequence. Okay, curlies are gone. That's nice. Let's evaluate that. I really miss in Clojure. I could just put the cursor anywhere and press Alt-Enter, and that would evaluate that entire expression. It'd be really cool to have that. But, selecting the entire thing is not too bad. Okay, so this evaluated it and gave me a function. So let's do count nucleotide. We'll give it A. Oops. Do A, B, C, actually, let's do AAGGTTCC and give it a A. Oh, actually, I'm not returning a count right now. I'm just seeing if it's in there or not. Okay, so it said there's a syntax error with that. I thought chars are supposed to be the backtick. It's really annoying that I can't use any of the arrow keys here. So I believe it's a single quote and an A. Oops. Forgot that again. Syntax error. Doesn't like that single quote there. Yesterday we worked on one that mapped them, so I believe that was called RNA transcription here. It is the backtick. Okay, so let's try that again. Oops. Backtick A. This expression has type. An expression was expected to type char. How do I type a char in OCaml? Single quotes around a single character. Okay. Should have paid attention to that yesterday. So we'll do a single quote around A. Bool is true. Okay. If I said put see if X is in there. Okay. So the function is working as expected, but it doesn't do what we needed to do. So essentially what we need to do is take that list and do a list dot count. Is there a count? Combine, compare length with, compare lengths, cons, compare, concat, filter. Filter and then count, I guess. Reduce. Could fold. Let's fold it. What does this need again? It needs, okay. It needs a function that takes an A, a B, returns an A. A is the accumulator. Then it takes the initial value of A, and then it takes the list. So the list will be piped in. Very good. Okay, so let's create this function. This function is going to take, we can actually, you know what? Oh, okay, that's right. We do need to actually create a function here. So we're going to say this function will check to see if, I think what I can even do is I can say function and then do bar if the second argument to the function, so I think I can do accumulator and the item. If the second item in the function, and this is where I can pattern match, if that's equal to the character, I don't know if I can pin that. Is there, whoops, is there a way to pin, pin a variable to pattern match against it in OCaml? That's not very well worded. But we'll see if it can pick up what I'm asking. So essentially what I'm trying to do is I want to actually match the character in the pattern here. And if that is the case, then essentially I want to take the accumulator and add it into it. Otherwise, so this will just be accumulator and anything, and I would just return back the accumulator. And then after that I would start at 0 and then take the list. So this expression has type int, but an expression of type A int B was expected. OCaml does not support using a variable as a pattern to match against its value. Patterns are static and cannot be dynamically constructed in variables. Huh, interesting. If you want to compare an expression with a variable, you can use an if-then-else expression or regard clause in the match expression. Okay. Let's use a guard. AB when B equals C. Okay. I know that I used this function thing recently as well. Yeah, here I did use it. Okay, so this was for the FizzBuzz exercise I did yesterday. I actually really like this implementation because if I had another sound or factor that I need to add, it'd just be as simple as going like plung 11. That's it. All taken care of for you. Back to the issue at hand here. So what we're doing here is this is a function that takes one thing. It may be that, okay, so function is kind of introducing that new thing. So I probably won't be able to define a function with pattern matching in this way. So, OCaml anonymous function with pattern matching on 2 parameters. Let's see if it can figure that out. Okay. One way to write now is function with pattern matching on 2 parameters in OCaml is to use a fun expression and match on a tuple of the parameters. For example, you can write fun xy Okay. Yeah, sure. I just do a match. That's all I need to do. So I just say fun AB, get rid of all this, and I just say match B. I don't really need a match on the... Yeah, okay, there we go. So we say match... Well, no, not really. that's not really saving me anything because I have to do it with anyway. So I'm just going to say if B is equal to C, then A plus 1, else A. That's it. Okay, so still not liking that. Maybe, how do I do an if in OCaml? Let's just pull up the learn X and Y minutes OCaml real quick. And take a look at how to do ifs. Missed over it. If this, then that, else that. Is this double equals wrong? Is it just a single equals comparison? Nope, doesn't seem to care about that. If that, then that, else that. All right, see if we can decipher this. This expression has type A product B, but an expression of type C, expecting a C and a D and then returning a C, was expected. I'm returning, okay, and it also says that it takes an integer and then a character and then returns an integer. Fine. Oh, okay, I know what's going on. It's because it's going to take each item in the list and return it as the accumulator. Is that right? What do you think about this? This is a function that takes an integer and then a character and then returns an integer. We give it first the integer 0 and then the first item in the list. Then it returns another integer. It's called again with the integer as the accumulator. The next thing in the list, that really should work. I'm not sure why this is not working. So let's just ask Bing. Please help me understand why this code isn't working. Interesting. Returns a sequence of bytes, not characters. This might cause problems if your string contains Unicode characters that are encoded in more than one byte. Also, this uses UTF string fold UTF-8 instead of string.2 sequence to iterate over Unicode characters. I don't actually think that's the issue in this case because this we're not going to be dealing with weird Unicode. Could you specifically help me debug the part? Pulled left is a function that takes 3 arguments of function op. An initial value accumulator and list 1. List L, it applies op to accumulator. The first element of L, then applies op to the result. And the second element of L, and so on, so choose the end of L. Okay, sure. In your code, we're using that as op. Good. Takes 2 arguments, an accumulator, and element of list B. If B is equal to some character C, it increments A by 1, otherwise it returns A unchanged. This way, you're counting how many times C appears in the list, right? You're using 0 as your initial value for the accumulator, which means you start counting for 0. You are also using list of sequence string.toSequence S as your list argument, which converts your string into a sequence of bytes and then into a list. Does this make sense? Do you have any other questions about your code? So, according to Being AI, it understands my code exactly. That's exactly what my code's supposed to do. But there appears to be some sort of syntax error. Count nucleotide SC, syntax error. Oh. That's why. That's why. So coming from languages where I'm used to putting commas in between my arguments, didn't have to do that. In fact, you have to not do that. All right, I'm gonna check on something. I'll be right back in 30 seconds or so. All right, I'm back. Now we should be able to be in business now. Let me just search real quick for something called sticky keys. And let me make sure that it has turned off. It is turned off. But there's definitely something going on with my sticky keys here. Okay. Well, you shall press on. What's interesting is that this actually got the code correct, but didn't tell me that that was the issue. It'd be kind of cool if it did. All right, so we got count nucleotide, which will count the number of nucleotides of that type. So let's double check to make sure that that actually works now. And okay, we got some weird sticky cues going on again. Count nucleotide, and we'll give it a string of A, B, C, A, B, what's it? ACGT, that's right, ACGT, and we're going to see if X is in there. Why not? Oops. Okay, good. Let's do count nucleotide of an empty string and check to see if X is in there. Good. Is that what it should give me? If I give it an empty string, I guess the count should be 0, right? empty DNA string has no invalid nucleotides. Saying here that if we were to do count nucleotide of an empty string in X, what it's expected to be is an error of that character. I don't think these tests are correct. Invalid DNA string has no invalid nucleotides. Has no invalid nucleotides. A non-empty DNA string has no invalid nucleotides. Non-empty DNA string has no invalid nucleotides. Okay. Well, let's press on and see if we can continue here. Am I supposed to just be returning a count, or should I be returning a results type? It looks like I should be returning a results type. Okay, so in the case where empty DNA string has 0, 8, and 9 nucleotides, for instance, DNA string with 1 add 9 nucleotide, okay. So really, if we're given an invalid, okay, so really what this is testing for is if we're given an invalid string or an invalid character, we should be returning an error with the character, the culprit that was found, I think. Okay, so that's, looks like a lot of heavy lifting is happening in this count nucleotide. So let's first make sure that C is a valid character. So how do we want to do that? I suppose we can use pattern matching here. Function. That's going to be the character. Character in, is there an in? There is. In a, how do I do lists? Lists are, yeah, semicolon separated. A, C, G, and T. If it's in that, do we have a not? Not in? Nope. Let's do C when list.mem C list. Mem A set is true if and only if A is equal to an element of set. Okay. So if it's in that list, if it's not in, we not. Then we're going to return error C. Otherwise, we're going to take C and do all this stuff with it. Okay, what is going on with this? So here we have C string.sequence. This expression is type independent expression was expected of type a char. Okay. This will take the final count, and I think I can just pipe the final count into an OK. Does that work? Should not be a constructor. The expected type is int a char. So, I don't know if I can. Ironically, the rest of it is happy now. Nope, it's not. This expression should not be a constructor. The expected type is int to a. Okay, does OK have a OK.of? Nope. Well, if I start this off with an OK of 0, then what I have to do is when I can pattern match on this. I can OK the A. And then return OK of A plus 1, else OK A. How could I take how? That's not cool. That's not cool. Just lost a whole bunch of stuff there. See if I remembered what we're talking about. It does not. Okay. Alright, so let me undo all that stuff there. And I can't seem to wrap it in an OK there. What can I do about that? This is frustrating, to be honest. Okay. Let's take a look at the learn OCaml here. Does OCaml have multiple definitions of functions? Okay. Well, this is really close here, I think. It's just I need to be wrapping this result in an OK. OCaml rep pipe into OK constructor. Okay, let's try that. Let's just say let OK of X and do OK of N. So we've essentially created a constructor for it. And then I can just say OK of here. And now I think it's happy. Unbound value OK of. Huh. What did I do here? Unbound value OK of. Oh, it's because I didn't evaluate this. Evaluate that, evaluate that. I think we have a function here. Let's give it a try. Count nucleotide. We'll do an empty string and X, error X. Excellent. So let's try doing A, G, C, T with an X. Really hate that I can't do up arrows here. Error X. Okay, so now the other thing we have to do is make sure that the string itself does not have an invalid character. So we're going to have another thing that says let contains invalid char string equal to function s when actually we're not going to use function here. We're just going to say string dot to sequence Here's the interesting thing. The way that I would do this is I would count how many Okay, that's fine. We'll just we'll just do another fold and then check to make sure that, yeah, we'll do that. Okay. We'll do list of sequence, and then we'll do another list fold left, and we'll say we're going to make sure that if list, okay, if list dot member, let's also say let nucleotides equal, and that's really not going to save me too much typing, but we're gonna be explicit about what our nucleotides are. So if list member be nucleotides, if it is a member, I think we want to do if it's not a member. If not, list member. Actually, you know what? I think I can get away with, no, that's not right. I was thinking I could get away with not even using the if and just saying, just check to see if it's not there. Maybe I can. Yeah, I think so. So I'm going to default this to false, right? And if, when I'm looping over this thing, if I ever find one that's not in that list, not a nucleotide, it's going to return the accumulator as true. But it could get all the way to the end of the list and remain false. So I think that should be fine there. Okay. Remember we had this issue before. I was not happy. And type string is not compatible with type unit. So we had a string .to sequence. Oh, okay, because I didn't actually give it the string. There we go. Okay, let's give that a try. So, oh, you know what? False doesn't look like that's actually... Is false supposed to be capitalized? I don't know. I don't think so. How do you do true and false in here? Yeah, it's just true and false. Okay. Maybe I just have weird syntax highlighting going on there. Oh, okay, you know what? I didn't evaluate nucleotides there. Let's do shift enter there. Nucleotides is evaluated. Shift enter this. That's evaluated. Let's do contains invalid char. Do agtc x. Actually, that's all we need to do. False. Contains invalid char ABCD. I did mean that. Could you please correct that for me? Char ABCD. True. Okay, beautiful. I like it. So we're kind of throwing away the accumulator here every single time. So let's actually be more explicit about that. So we don't actually care what the accumulator was. We just say, as soon as I find one that isn't a nucleotide, then I'm flipping it over to a true, which means that it is true that it does contain an invalid character. So let's add one more guard here and say C when contains invalid char S, and then we're going to return error of C. Good. All right, so I believe count nucleotide does everything that our tests are expecting. Yeah. Okay. So now we just need to actually count the nucleotides. There's this extra thing here where if a nucleotide is not in there, then we don't even, we don't return count of 0, we just don't include it at all, which is kind of frustrating. And then the other thing is still wrapped into an OK, and then it looks like if there's only one type, we don't even return a list. That's a problem. That's really annoying. Okay. And then an empty DNA string has 0 nucleotides. Fine. Okay. So in this case, we're going to count the nucleotides of a string. So, is it helpful to check to see if that string is empty first? If the empty DNA string has 0 nucleotides, we do an OK of empty. Yeah, so that's good. Keep that guy. If an invalid DNA string has no nucleotides, so we'll say S when contains invalid char S, then what do I need to return? Return error of X. Ooh, it wants me to actually know what the invalid character was. Beautiful. Okay. How do I want to do this now? That's really stupid. It's really stupid. I have to find the invalid character. It's stupid because what if, I mean, like literally in the README here. Let's open up the README here. In README, they give an example of invalid. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters there that are invalid. And am I supposed to return all of them in an error? Right? I mean, clearly from the tests, there are no examples of that. But it's kind of silly that I have to look at the test in order to know how my function is supposed to work here. To be honest, just to get this thing to pass, I'm thinking of just returning error of X every single time, because that's the only type of error they return here. So I would argue these are bad tests. All right, I'm going to do that because I don't want to have to deal with this at the moment. Error of X. Okay, and then in all the other cases, now we actually have to count each one of the nucleotides and then return back the result of that. So we can do a list.map where we count the nucleotide of the nucleotides. There we go. So now count nucleotide takes a string and okay. So I'm going to partially apply this with a string, which I don't have because I didn't actually grab it yet. Okay, what else am I missing here? It needs a string and then it needs the characters. I'm mapping the characters over that list, that function. Or rather, I'm mapping that function over the characters. The expression has type int char results list, but an expression was expected of a char result. Oh, okay. It's because it just doesn't conform to the return type expected of count nucleotides. Okay, so that's going to first give us a list, and then for now, just to satisfy the compiler, it's going to do that. Let's run the make and see how many tests are failing here. Syntax error. This expression should not be a function. The expected type is a base.list.t. This is on line 12. Did I mess things up with that? I don't think so. Now I'm getting a whole bunch of squiggly lines here. This expression should not be a function. The expected type is base list t. Interesting. Let's open up the type definitions. Code nucleotide count apply. And for now, I'm going to comment out the type definitions. Still not happy. Empty DNA string has no invalid nucleotides. This expression should not be a function. The expected type is a base list t. No idea what that means, to be honest. This expression is type charless, but an expression was expected of type A to B. The value, it's okay, but it's got a whole bunch of curlies here. Unbound value, string.to sequence. The error message means that you're trying to use a value as a function, but it's not actually a function. For example, if you have a list of integers and you try to call for a function, you'll get this error. Possible cause of this error is that you're using wrong syntax. This is, I'm using OCaml and the code snippet underlined is, let's grab this guy. Getting the same error in two of these, but we'll use one of these. List.mem is a function that checks if an element is present in the list. It takes two arguments, the elements. Your code snippet is a function that takes two arguments, A and B, and returns true if A, B is not an element of nucleotides, which I assume is a list defined elsewhere. The function uses list.mem to check for membership and negates it with not. Maybe you are getting the error because you are passing a wrong type of argument to your function or list.mem. Can you show me how you're calling your function and what nucleotides contains? This expression should not be a function. The expected type is. Okay. I've spent way longer on this exercise than I'd like to. Supposed to do this in like 15 minutes. So I'm gonna give up for tonight. I might be giving up on OCaml entirely. This was a pain in the butt. The tooling isn't great. The compiler isn't giving me useful errors. To be honest, I haven't really done a very good job of reading the documentation and learning OCaml from books or anything. But it shouldn't be this difficult, and it really is painful. Part of the problem, I think, is Exercism is a great tool, but it is community driven, and whoever wrote these tests, these are abysmal. I don't know why they thought this was a good interface for how this function is supposed to behave. It is absolutely not good. So I'm arbitrarily having to build code just to satisfy tests to say that I did this exercise, and the tests themselves are not actually good tests. If anyone are you watching and you have experience with OCaml and have tips on how to make it less painful, it would be much appreciated. But that's